Hi, welcome to another video from Wristwatch Talk, and today we're going to be talking the Smith's Everest PRS-25. So I've had this watch in the collection now for a good while. I unboxed it a while ago. You will see a video there if you want to go over the specs and all that. I would recommend you go and find that video because I won't be going over all that today. But I hadn't started to wear the watch until a good while after owning it, so it's probably around about 5 months later when I kind of de-stickered it completely and started to wear it. Reason being is that's just how I do it with new watches. I generally don't wear them straight away. I like to go through kind of a phase where I buy the watch, I let it sit, I'll take a look at it, make sure it's working, let it sit, and then it takes me a while just to feel like I'm ready to wear it. It's just the way I do it. I'm sure you've all got your strange ways. So unless it's like a used watch, which if I buy a used watch, I generally am just comfortable just to wear it straight away. Because it's already been used, it's got its bangs and scratches, and I'm kind of more eager to wear it and see if it's working all okay before I don't have an opportunity to maybe contact a seller or something, because I've bought a few used watches in the past, and I own a few used ones now still. But I've been wearing the watch for the last 2 weeks roughly, and I wanted to give you my kind of hands-on impressions after owning it for a while. I've had a Smiths before. The previous iteration of this watch, the first iteration I should say, with the different Smiths, kind of bold Smiths text, so I kind of know how it is to own one. But because I've been having it on the wrist for the past 2 weeks, I thought that it would be a good opportunity now to just discuss my likes and dislikes, and if I give it a recommendation or not. So let's go over first of all the hands and the dial. So I really do like the hands of the watch on the dial there. You've got some nice beveling on the edge of the hour hand and the minute hand, and you've got this lollipop seconds hand, and it reaches far over to the edge of the dial, and I really do like the way it looks. I like the way they play with the light, and I do like the Mercedes hands. So you can see here the beveling a bit on the edge there of the minute hand. I do really like the Mercedes hands, and so hands get a thumbs up from me. I don't see any reason to change anything there. The printing on the dial is done really well. It's filled with X1C3 Superluminova, so you get a really extremely strong glow from that lume. I can just flash my UV torch on there to see if it picks anything up. Let's give it a quick, there we go. You can see how the lume already in this kind of fairly well lit room shines through, so it's very strong. So the printing on the dial is done extremely well. There are no dust particles or something on the dial, so that's really clean, and looks really well done. The Smiths logo uses this is also an original Smiths logo, as was the bold text. So it's the Smiths Deluxe logo, and I think this is a better fit for the watch with the Everest text in white. I think it's a good improvement over the previous edition. So I do really like the dial. I very much like the matte black dial that they use, and so the dial gets a big thumbs up from me. It's no doubt a homage of the famous 1016, so I think they've homaged it really well. The crystal domed sapphire with AR on the underside, big favourite of mine. I do like a domed crystal, and it does add a little bit of height to the watch, but I think it adds a nice vintage look, and I like the slight distortion it gives off. Some people mention that there's a milky ring that they don't like, which I do see. You can see it on the edge there. And I've seen some custom kind of modified versions of the watch with a acrylic crystal, and Time Factors also did a run of commandos with an acrylic crystal, and although I did like the way it looked, it opened up the dial a bit too much for me, which meant it just made it look bigger than it needed to, so I prefer the way it looks with the sapphire. The case itself is done really well. It's a lot of polishing, as you can see. It's mostly polished, and I really do like the way the polishing is done. Polishing on the sides, on the back. We've got the crown logo on the crown itself. So heft of the watch is really good. You've got a anti-magnetic kind of cover inside the watch, so that's between the movement and the case back. So if you were to open the watch, that kind of case back, that cover would kind of just, you could just kind of pop it out. It's not connected with screws or something. So that's a nice feature to have that in a watch that's £325. There is a rivet bracelet. They are faux rivets, and they are using screws to connect the links together. So far, I've really enjoyed the feel of the bracelet, the way it wears on wrist. The new bracelet that they use doesn't have rivets. I like the rivets on the bracelet. I've got enough watches without them, and I've never had an issue with it. I really like the way they look on the Black Bay 58, so I'm happy with them. I've got no preference over them, really. If I had to choose rivets or no rivets, I don't know, I'd probably just choose the rivets because it's something different, isn't it, to standard type bracelet without them. And it fits really well on the wrist. Nice 2-button clasp. There were some issues with the previous model that you maybe know about. It kind of was like more of just a friction clasp. It was popping open, supposedly. That's how it looks on my 6.5 to 6.7 inch wrist. So clasp construction, bracelet construction, screws to resize the bracelet, done really well. The screws are not like riveted, as you can see. I've had to take quite a few out to be able to size it for my wrist. Sorry, I wasn't even showing it there on screen. Had to take quite a few out to size it for my wrist. But the screws are just screws, they're not like riveted screws. So that's it. The only thing I'll say is that sometimes I see it on my wrist and think, like, I really do like a 36mm watch. I've got a few of them. I mean, I will say that sometimes I see it on my wrist and I think it looks like, because the bracelet doesn't, because it's 20mm lugs and the bracelet doesn't taper from the top to the bottom, like it tapers from 20 to 16, which is obviously kind of normal. But I don't know, maybe without the rivets, or maybe with the 18mm lugs, you would find that it looks more elegant and more kind of, it would take away some weight from the watch, I think. But that's why the Jubilee bracelet on the Aventurine dial kind of does that. You see that on that bracelet, it takes away that kind of look of bulkiness around about the lug area. But bracelets can always be changed. I think Uncle Seiko do a Jubilee that fits on the watch as well. Not specific for this model, but I think it's for an alpinist, and I think it fits on the Everest. So I really like everything about the watch. There's a couple of things that mostly one thing really that I would maybe like to see done differently, but I don't really know how they would do it differently. It's just in comparison to other watches, the screw down crown is a little bit fiddly. It's quite small. Pushing it in and screwing it down can be a little bit fiddly because you push it in, it pops, got like a spring that's kind of loaded or something that creates that pop. So it's, you know, you push it in to screw it, and if you don't catch the threads the first time, it kind of really pops back. Whereas some watches kind of they don't have that spring to them, and it kind of just screws down easier. But it's, you know, after 2 or 3 tries, it's in. Sometimes you need 1 try. It's not a big deal. It's just something to mention. Crown is quite small. I'm not sure what they could do to change that, because design-wise, I think it looks pretty much perfect. So yeah, I've really enjoyed having it on wrist. I really recommend it. It's a really nice homage to the 1016. It's probably the best one out there in my opinion. I mean, overall, there are some things that could be changed. Sure, an acrylic crystal done right might look nice. Maybe the loom could be toned down a bit because it's quite strong and adds a bit of a green effect to the indices. That's one thing that stands out to me sometimes in even light that's not super dim. But then again, you are taken away from the strong loom, and that is quite fantastic when you see it and the way it glows, and it's really, really strong, and that's nice. So I mean, there's nothing really I changed, to be honest. Drilled lugs as well, which is nice, and I've just really enjoyed wearing it. Great size, great little piece. And what I want to do, I want to put it on the Timegrapher and just give us a idea of how it's running. So like I said, I set it about just shy of 2 weeks ago. I'll tell you now quickly, I used a time and date website. So right now it's I'll wait until the time and date website gets to kind of starts a new minute, then it's easier to see how slow it is or fast. But I'll put it on the Timegrapher in the meantime and let it do its thing. The Miyota 9039 has a 51-degree lift angle, so I've already set that to the Timegrapher. Just push the camera over a little bit, that's already in view. So it's in this face-up position. There we go. So it's 42 minutes now on the dot, and this is running. Okay, it's 42 minutes and 10 seconds now. So it's running 50 seconds fast. Okay. All right, so the watch is running 50 seconds fast. And that's after a couple of weeks. So let's leave it on the Timegrapher and we just see how it's running. Just to get an idea of, yeah. Let's see, so it's running about 4 seconds faster a day, I'd say, overall. Thing is, with the Timegrapher, it obviously gives you a measurement, but there's so many variations. But I do think the Timegrapher is a good tool to use to see if your watch is out of spec completely or in spec, or if it's completely off. Because if we see now that it's running at, now it says it's running at no seconds a day. So if that is true, if that was true, then it would still be, exactly correct. But it's obviously 50 seconds fast, so it's running fast. But there's lots of variations that there's lots of things that you have to take into account, like how much you're wearing it, how much it's wound, how much you've had it off that day, which position you've left it in, how your wrist is sitting, all these different things. But as you can see, in this position, it's telling me it's no seconds a day. So if I was to leave it in this position the whole time, according to the Timegrapher, we'd have a watch that's just running, the same as it was a couple of weeks ago. So let's change the position of the watch to dial facing forward, and let's see what that does to the Timegrapher numbers. Give it a few seconds. I've had a few watches with Miyota movements and they all run very well, to be fair. I was kind of really worried the whole time at first of how fast the watch was or how slow it was, but generally over time, that minute doesn't bother me. It doesn't make a difference to my enjoyment of the watch or my time telling. I'm never in a position where 1 minute makes as much of a difference to anything. I always give myself enough time if I'm going somewhere, for example, so it's not like it's a big issue if I'm a minute late or a minute too early. I'd rather always be early. That's why a lot of people like their watches as well to be running a bit faster than a bit slow. but more so just because if they can pop out the crown and let it run and then push it back in if it's running fast. But running slow is also not a big deal, you know, you just set it again or whatever, and wait for a minute to run round or whatnot. So as you can see in this face kind of forward position, it's telling me that it's running -7 seconds a day, and the amplitude has changed as well. So, okay. According to that, it should be in the minus, but it's obviously not in the minus. Let's do it face, kind of dial to the side. I won't do it in any other positions because that would require me to take the watch off again, and don't want to do too many positions here, make the video too long. So just give it another minute. I can do a video on this at some point. I had this one for a while and I've wore it a lot, so definitely enough experience with this one to do a review. It's a Still Dive, the Seiko reference number. I don't have it in my head at the minute, but it's that Captain Willard Homage. Okay, so as you can see, it's running -4 in this position too. So good numbers still, you know, it's running definitely in spec. It says on the website, I think Miyota is -20 +40 a day, so it's really good. Just push it back. Spec wise, according to the Timegrapher, can't be happier really. So overall, great buy. I'm really happy with it. It's one that will be staying with me. And yeah, if you can get a hold of it, I'd recommend it. There's a few other models if you like something different, maybe not as much of a homage, would be the Expedition. One thing I will add that I almost forgot was that I was wearing this out a few days ago. Someone saw me and they asked me what it was. And they said, "Oh, it's a nice watch, what is it?" And the first thing that came out was, "Oh, it's not a Rolex Explorer." And they were like, "Oh yeah, what watch is it though?" "I like the Bracelet," is what they responded with. And it kind of made me think about wearing a Homage again and the feeling it gave me. I never have that feeling normally that I'm wearing a watch that is like a, you know, almost a copy. And it did make me feel a little bit like, oh yeah, it's a Homage, isn't it? Like, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone to say what it is and explain yourself. But I did feel a little bit like negative about that bit of conversation, that it's a Homage watch and it's not really an Explorer. I'm not sure, yeah, it didn't sit with me too well, and it made me rethink my feeling about Homage watches. Like, personally for me, are they something that I would really want to own, like, more of? Because as a conversation, I know some people say, yeah, you can talk about the history of time factors and whatnot, and the Smiths Company, sorry, and of course you can, but at the end of the day, it's a homage to a 1016. They're homaging a watch that, obviously, you know, regardless of which one went up Everest, they're homaging that design. And maybe if you don't want that, if you don't like that, the Expedition would be the better watch to go for if that's something that you think would bother you. Because it had never bothered me, but this is the first interaction I had with someone that noticed the watch and asked about it. And once I said that to them about it's not a Rolex Explorer, I kind of felt a bit uncomfortable. I thought, I didn't need to say that, it's just kind of first thing that came out. And yeah, of course, that's what it is at the end. It's a homage, and whether you feel comfortable with that or not is up to you, but I'm still happy to wear it and I feel comfortable wearing it. It's just, in the future, if someone asks me what it is, I'll just say to them what it is. It's a it's a Smith's Everest, and they'll probably ask me, oh right, it looks like an Explorer, and I'll then have to explain what it is. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope you have a great day. And any comments, questions, leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.